Hello, I'm Michael Wolf, and this is the second in what I hope to be many of new videos that I plan on posting on my YouTube page about music, about life, about philosophy, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and the other. Um, I decided to start doing this because I had a buddy of mine a while ago ask my opinion about a Pink Floyd album. You could see that opinion, that 17-minute video, on my YouTube page right next to this one. This video I decided to do tonight, January 14th, 2015. I had just purchased and just received a DVD in the mail of one of my musical influences since I was 5 years old. This band was the reason why I became a musician, a drummer. Um, it literally is the soundtrack of my life, and I think this is probably going to be, maybe I say this now, probably the one and only video that I plan on making talking about this band, because people who know me, who are close to me, have heard all of this shit before, and they're like, no, not again. We don't want to hear it. But yes, it is that band, that damning band called Genesis. And I had purchased and just received tonight a copy of Genesis, Some of the Parts, which was a BBC documentary, which was over in England called Together and Apart. And then when they market it here in the United States, they call it Some of the Parts. It was shown on Showtime here in America and over in the BBC in England. And it seemed like to be a promising documentary. It reunited the classic lineup of Genesis of Banks, Collins, Gabriel, Hackett, and Rutherford. And there was a big media display on social media. The five guys, the classic lineup reunited in 2014. They were going to do this documentary. It was going to be them sitting in a room together talking about their experience in life in Genesis. And with the name Together and Apart, you'd assume that they'd be talking about Genesis and they'd be talking about their solo careers. Um, I've watched many Genesis documentaries over my um, almost 30 years of being a fan. I am 32 going on 33 in August, so I've been a Genesis fan for most of my life. If that gives you any inclination on how big of a fan I am. Anything that Genesis has put out, I probably most likely own it. I probably own it 3 or 4 times. I probably owned it on cassette. I owned it on CD. I have it on DVD. I might have it on vinyl. I probably have it on vinyl. Not all of it, but I have invested a lot of money into this band. Unfortunately, I only got to see them once live, and that was back in 2007 on their Turn On Again tour. I at least was lucky to see them live, even though that was the three-man lineup with Chester Thompson and Daryl Sturmer. I've seen Colin solo. I've seen Gabriel solo. I've seen Hackett solo. I've seen the famous band, the cover band or tribute band, I should say, the Musical Box. I've seen them about 3 or 4 times. They're fucking awesome. They're the closest thing that anybody of my generation will see of that band, in that existence from that little time back in the early 70s. Anyway, I purchased this DVD and I sat down tonight and I watched it, and I already kind of knew what I was in for based upon stuff that I've read on the internet. Given the fact that I don't have Showtime and BBC America didn't show this, so I had to wait a few months to watch it. And I've watched it a few hours ago, and I have to tell you that if you are a Genesis fan, or if you are a true fan, yes, please see this, but don't get your hopes up. In fact, you're going to be really disappointed. In fact, after watching it, I was disappointed. It's about 90 minutes long, and I think there's about maybe half an hour of bonus interviews. I didn't even bother to watch the extra bonus material. I walked out of the room and started doing stuff around the house, like putting my clothes away and getting my clothes out for work the next day. I just, in fact, I'm debating about reselling this on Amazon or eBay or anybody who's willing or is foolish enough to take my money for it. It's only been watched once, so it's in mint condition, except for the fact that it has no cellophane on it anymore. Other than that, it's in perfect good order, no scratches, no nothing, only been watched once. Will not be watched ever again. And here's why. As I take a sip of whiskey, because we're going to get into this shit. The pros about this DVD is that there are some footage and some pictures that I've personally never seen before. And anything that is Genesis related, again, like I said, if it's out there, I own it. Maybe not all of it, but I own it. Here's a prime example. If you're going to buy this, I would deter you from buying this, and I would rather have you buy this. Chapter and Verse. This came out right after the 2007 reunion, and it's got pictures, and it literally has everybody's input on it. I think this is more of a fairer storytelling of the band than watching this piece of shit. Here's why. The DVD doesn't go into everything. It's not I don't think it's really a definitive tale of Genesis. Genesis is claiming that it's a definitive tale. Not me. Not any other Genesis fan that's seen this would call this definitive. There have been other Genesis documentaries. Anybody who's watched Genesis: A History on VHS that came out in 1990, 1991. VH1 Behind the Music, and Genesis, the Genesis songbook that came out in the 70s. Those documentaries touched more than what this did. This was a hype to get the classic lineup in a room to talk, and it wasn't even, everybody. I mean, the five members were there. The classic lineup. They interviewed Anthony Phillips a little bit, but he wasn't really involved as much as what I think he should have. Some of the old drummers, Chris Stewart, Jonathan Silver. Unfortunately, John Mayhew passed away a few years ago, so he wouldn't have been able to be interviewed. And of course, Steve Hackett. And that's what really gets me upset, is that this whole documentary goes through the history together and apart, and which is Genesis, the band, and then Genesis members, their solo stuff. Each member of the classic lineup has their own little time of, they talk a little bit about Peter Gabriel's solo career, Phil Collins' solo career. There's a little bit of Mike Mechanics in there. And they talk, believe it or not, the one who has the least successful solo career in Genesis is Tony Banks. The man who pretty much is Genesis. With his keyboard playing, he was the part of the sound in Genesis. He was, I think, the heart of Genesis. But they even touched on his solo stuff. Steve Hackett, nothing to be mentioned of his solo work. There was a brief part in the DVD where, right at the point when they got to 1977, and they were talking about Steve Hackett leaving. And and the only time that he really spoke, probably more than 5 seconds, was the fact that he was saying that he wasn't able to get his style and his songwriting in the band, and he felt that the only way he could do that was to leave the band, go solo. Mike Rutherford had a little nice thing to say that he was an excellent guitar player, very innovative, but other than that, you don't see him the rest of the DVD. They don't talk about any of his solo material whatsoever. Now, for people that are like, into David Bowie and, Zeppelin and AC/DC, and, people who are not Genesis fans or who only know of Genesis as far as their music in the 80s, don't know a lick of shit of Steve Hackett's work, let alone his contribution to the early days of Genesis. I think he's a very underrated guitar player. He is, like I said, a very innovative guitar player, but he's not ranking the top 100. Why, I don't know. But his sound is unique. It's distinctive. When you hear it, you know it's him. It's like hearing Phil Collins play drums. When you hear just drums, no singing, when you just hear drums, you know whether it's Phil Collins or not. They didn't go into any detail about Steve Hackett. In fact, it seemed like with this DVD, they didn't give a fuck about Steve Hackett. And Steve Hackett was even so pissed that he's not even selling it on his website. Like, he actually gets a percentage of the sales on this DVD because it's split between the 5 of them, because it's all kind of collected, Genesis on it. He gets a percentage. But because Steve Hackett is Steve Hackett, and he's not in it for the money per se, he's in it for the art, he's still doing it. He's the only member of Genesis, former or current, whatever you want to call it, that's actually still out there doing shit. Phil Collins isn't doing anything. He was my personal hero. That's because, he's old, he hasn't practiced, and unfortunately he has health problems that is not allowing him to play drums the way that he used to. That's just the way it is. You reach your peak, your zenith, and then you get old, and then that's it. Other guys are still going, but Steve Hackett is still touring. He's still making albums. He just did a huge Genesis Revisited tour around the world. He's coming out with a new album in the springtime. He's put out more work, I would say, on his own than I'd say probably than Genesis itself. And that says a lot. But apparently whoever created this piece of shit didn't feel that was, that needed to be mentioned. Highly disappointed in this DVD. Again, I bought a lot of stuff from this band. If they remastered it, remixed it, put it in a box, I bought it. I spent money. I spent hundreds of dollars buying the remix box sets, the DVDs, all of it. There is a companion CD that goes with this called Archive, which is a combination of not only Genesis material but solo material. That's a little bit more democratic than what this turd is. Each member of the classic lineup has 3 solo albums each throughout 3 CDs. So Steve Hackett gets 3 songs, Phil Collins gets 3 songs, even Tony Banks gets 3 songs, etc., etc. As a Genesis fan, I must say that I didn't want to believe the rumors. I didn't want to believe it was true. But like certain things in life, when you find out that things are too good to be true and they're a big letdown, you tend to just walk away from it. And I have to walk away from this. I'm not walking away as a fan, but I'm disowning this. This is the redheaded stepchild, my friends, of the Genesis catalog. Thank God I do not own a Blu-ray player because it would have been more expensive. This cost me about 12 or 13 bucks. Would have cost me more in iTunes to buy it through iTunes. So to actually have a physical product and pay less for it is astonishing. Astonishing, I should say. Thank God for Amazon. Cheers to that. But yeah, just very disappointed. And I don't know if I can blame the band. I don't know if I can blame the director, the producer. I mean, you're talking about a documentary that's shown on Showtime. This is the same premium network that showed the history of the Eagles Part 1 and 2. And even that was biased. That was pretty much Don Henley and Glenn Fry bitching about this, bitching about that. It was a biased documentary. It doesn't tell the whole tale. It's only one side of the truth. It's not the whole truth. And even after Steve Hackett left, even when they were talking about certain things, it was even throughout the whole entire thing, it was like it was only just four of them. It was the classic three-man lineup, and then it was Peter Gabriel, and then every once in a while, in the corner over here, you'd see a quarter of Steve Hackett's face. It was absolute garbage and bullshit, and I don't blame Steve Hackett one bit for not selling it on his website. I don't blame Steve Hackett one bit for not being a part of it. I mean, he'll sell the archive box set because it's a little bit more fair, but yeah, I don't blame him one bit for not selling it on his website. That's when you know an artist has integrity. That they're not willing to sell out, for something, that they don't believe in. And obviously Steve Hackett didn't believe in this DVD, and neither do I. So I'm pro Hackett, or as my friend Russ would say, Steve can't hack it, which he can't hack it. He's Steve fucking Hackett. So, fuck the Hackett haters, fuck the Genesis haters, and fuck this DVD. That's what I have to say. That's the title of this video. Fuck this DVD with Michael Wolff, sponsored by Wild Turkey Shitty Whiskey. This is actually honey whiskey, by the way, and it's not that good. It doesn't compare to Crown Royal or Jack Daniels. But that's for another video. Anyway, I want to thank you for sitting through this long-winded video. And yeah, don't buy this DVD. It's a piece of shit. I've crapped out better turds that have more integrity than this DVD. A very sad day for a Genesis fan. And like I said, I'm a huge fan. I love their music, but after watching this, it's a sad day. So I am Michael Wolff. You can watch more of my videos if I choose to record them. You can look me up by typing in M Wolff Drums. That's MWOLFDRUMS through YouTube. So subscribe to my channel if you want. If you don't want, you should just do it anyway because you're not cool unless you do it. So I'm Michael Wolff, and if there's anything else interesting to talk about, you can watch it here. Thank you.